Welcome to Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go. This video uses AI narration to present our original book analysis. Today, we're diving deep into Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
It's a novel that continues to captivate readers over 2 centuries after its publication, and for good reason. We're going to explore why that is, using some insightful quotes and historical context to illuminate its enduring appeal.
Okay, so we've got excerpts that highlight Elizabeth Bennet's journey and publication details that paint a vivid picture of the world Austen was writing in.
Published in 1813, Pride and Prejudice emerged during a period of intense change: King George III's illness, the French Revolution. These events cast a long shadow over England, creating a sense of uncertainty and social upheaval. Even Austen's own cousin, Eliza Hancock, was touched by the turmoil. Her husband tragically guillotined during the Reign of Terror.
That's a chilling reminder of the precariousness of the time. And it makes you wonder how those anxieties might have influenced Austen's portrayal of seemingly stable society in Pride and Prejudice.
Absolutely. It adds a layer of complexity to the novel's exploration of societal norms and individual choices. On the surface, we see the world of the landed gentry, their manners, their estates, their intricate rules of courtship. But beneath that surface, there's a sense of unease, a recognition that even the most established order can be shaken.
It's fascinating how Austen balances those contrasting elements. She clearly respects the values of the landed gentry, their sense of decorum, their responsibility, but she also acknowledges the inherent injustices of that rigid social hierarchy.
And she does it with such wit and precision. Think about the opening lines of the novel. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Right from the start, Austen sets the stage for her satirical exploration of marriage, wealth, and social status.
It's brilliant how she uses humor to expose the absurdity of certain social conventions. And then there are the characters themselves, each so vividly drawn and full of contradictions. Take Mrs. Bennet, for example. The business of her life was to get her daughters married. Its solace was visiting and news.
She's a force of nature, driven by a single-minded pursuit of advantageous matches for her daughters. Her anxieties and social aspirations reflect the pressures faced by women of her class, whose futures were largely determined by marriage.
But she's also a source of comic relief, with her tendency to overreact and her often misguided pronouncement.
Exactly. Austen doesn't simply condemn or ridicule her characters. She presents them with a mixture of sympathy and satire, allowing us to see both their flaws and their humanity. And then there's Mr. Bennet, Elizabeth's father, with his dry wit and detached observations. "When there are 20, I will visit them all," he quips, referring to the young men of fortune who might be interested in his daughters.
He's such a complex character, insightful about human nature, but also a bit withdrawn from the drama unfolding around him. And his relationship with Elizabeth is particularly interesting. They share a sharp wit and a skeptical view of societal expectations.
That connection becomes crucial as Elizabeth embarks on her own journey of self-discovery, navigating the complexities of love, societal pressures, and her own evolving understanding of the world.
And that's where we'll pick up in our next segment. We'll delve into Elizabeth's journey, using key quotes to illuminate her transformation and explore how she challenges both societal norms and her own preconceived notions.
Elizabeth's journey is really the heart of Pride and Prejudice. She's intelligent, independent, and fiercely observant, but she's also susceptible to making judgments based on incomplete information.
Which is completely relatable, right? I mean, we've all been there forming opinions before we have all the facts. And for Elizabeth, that tendency leads to some significant misunderstandings, particularly when it comes to Mr. Darcy.
Their first encounter at the Meryton Assembly is a classic study in how pride and prejudice can shape our perceptions. Darcy, with his aloof demeanor and obvious disdain for the social scene, immediately rubs Elizabeth the wrong way, and Darcy in turn underestimates Elizabeth because of her family's somewhat embarrassing behavior and their lower social standing.
And then there's Wickham, who further complicates matters. He's charming and charismatic, and he spins a tale of Darcy's supposed cruelty that completely wins Elizabeth's sympathy.
Wickham preys on Elizabeth's prejudices, confirming her belief that Darcy is arrogant and heartless. It's a reminder of how easily we can be swayed by appearances, especially when those appearances align with our existing biases.
It's also a reminder that first impressions aren't always accurate, and for Elizabeth, that realization comes at a cost. She allows her dislike of Darcy to blind her to Wickham's true nature, which has devastating consequences for her family.
That's the thing about Pride and Prejudice. They can cloud our judgment and prevent us from seeing people for who they really are. And it's not just Elizabeth who falls victim to these flaws. Darcy, with his pride in his social standing and his prejudiced views of those he considers beneath him, makes his own share of mistakes.
His first proposal to Elizabeth is a prime example. It's not just poorly delivered. It's steeped in a sense of condescension that deeply offends Elizabeth. He acknowledges her lower social status and speaks of his love as if it's a favor he's bestowing upon her.
It's a moment that reveals the depth of Darcy's pride and how it blinds him to Elizabeth's true worth. And it's also a turning point for Elizabeth. His proposal and his subsequent letter explaining his actions regarding Bingley and Jane forces her to confront her own misjudgments.
She utters that powerful line, "Till this moment, I never knew myself." It's a moment of profound self-awareness, a recognition that her pride and prejudice have led her astray.
And it marks the beginning of a journey of growth and reflection for both of them. Darcy, challenged by Elizabeth's rejection, starts to examine his own behavior and recognize the flaws in his pride. He begins to see Elizabeth not as someone beneath him, but as an intelligent, independent woman worthy of his respect.
Elizabeth, forced to reconsider her own perceptions, begins to see Darcy in a new light. Her visit to Pemberley, his grand estate, is a pivotal moment in this transformation.
It's not just the grandeur of Pemberley that makes an impression on Elizabeth, it's the housekeeper's description of Darcy's kindness, his generosity, and his devotion to his sister. It challenges her previous assumptions and plants a seed of doubt about the man she thought she knew.
And then there's that charged encounter in Pemberley's gardens, their unexpected reunion after months apart. The tension is palpable, but there's also a shift in their dynamic. Darcy is more humble, more attentive, genuinely interested in Elizabeth's well-being.
It's a glimpse of the man he could be if he sheds his pride and allows his true character to shine through. And for Elizabeth, it's a moment of awakening. She starts to question everything she thought she knew about him, and the seeds of a genuine connection begin to take root.
But of course, Austen doesn't let them off that easily. Just as Elizabeth starts to warm to Darcy, her younger sister Lydia elopes, with Wickham throwing the Bennet family into chaos.
The elopement is a catalyst for change, forcing everyone to confront the consequences of their actions and revealing hidden depths of character. Darcy, despite his previous disdain for Lydia and her family, steps up to ensure her reputation is protected and that Wickham takes responsibility for his actions.
It's a selfless act that speaks volumes about his character. He risks social scorn and financial ruin to protect a family that hasn't always treated him well. And in doing so, he reveals his true nature to Elizabeth, his honor, his integrity, and his deep capacity for love.
And it's in this moment that Elizabeth fully recognizes her own misjudgments and the depth of Darcy's character. Their journey has been fraught with obstacles, but through those obstacles, they've both learned valuable lessons about themselves and each other. They've confronted their pride and prejudice, and in doing so, they've opened themselves up to the possibility of a love that transcends societal boundaries and expectations.
So how does all of this lead to their happily ever after? That's where we'll pick up in the final part of our deep dive. So we've seen Elizabeth and Darcy grapple with their pride and prejudices, and we've witnessed their misunderstandings and misjudgments, and we've followed their journeys of self-discovery.
But now the question remains, how do they finally bridge the gap between them and find their way to a love that defies societal expectations?
Yeah, it's not a simple answer, is it? I mean, it's not just a sudden change of heart or a grand romantic gesture.
It's a process, a gradual unfolding of understanding and acceptance. Think about Darcy's actions in resolving Lydia's elopement. He doesn't do it for social approval or even for Elizabeth's gratitude.
Right. He does it because he recognizes the true gravity of the situation and wants to protect Elizabeth and her family from ruin.
Exactly. It's an act of integrity, of genuine compassion.
And it's significant that he reveals his involvement to Elizabeth through a letter.
Oh, absolutely.
He gives her space to process the information, to reflect on her own judgments without the pressure of a face-to-face encounter.
That letter becomes a catalyst for Elizabeth. She rereads it, dissecting his words and confronting the depth of her own misperceptions. It's a moment of profound humility, of recognizing the ways she's allowed pride and prejudice to color her perceptions.
And this is where Austen's brilliance shines through, right? She demonstrates that true love isn't about instant attraction or a whirlwind romance. It's about a journey of self-discovery, of recognizing shared values, and of cultivating a love rooted in mutual respect and understanding.
And that's beautifully illustrated in their second proposal scene. Gone is the awkwardness, the condescension, the clash of egos. Instead, we see honesty, vulnerability, and a genuine appreciation for each other's strengths and flaws.
It's so different from that first proposal.
Right.
They speak as equals, acknowledging their past mistakes and embracing a future built on open communication and a shared understanding. There's a beautiful simplicity to their exchange, a sense of two souls finally meeting on equal ground.
And it's Elizabeth's declaration of happiness that resonates so deeply. I am the happiest creature in the world. I am happier even than Jane. She only smiles. I laugh.
I love that line.
It's a happiness born not just of romantic love, but of self-acceptance and a sense of fulfillment. She's found a partner who challenges her, respects her, and allows her to be her true, witty, and independent self.
And that's the enduring appeal of Pride and Prejudice, isn't it?
I think so.
It's a story that speaks to the transformative power of self-awareness, humility, and the courage to challenge our own assumptions. It reminds us that happiness isn't a destination, but a journey, a process of continual evolution and discovery, alongside someone who sees and appreciates us for who we truly are.
And if you want to experience that journey for yourself, I encourage you to pick up a copy of Pride and Prejudice and discover its timeless charm. You won't be disappointed.
If you want to understand why Pride and Prejudice remains a beloved classic, we encourage you to read the book and discover its timeless charm for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and purchase a book via the link below.